Start in Matthew.
Oh, not in the middle. Okay.
One thing I like about the book of Matthew, he spoke directly to the Jews.
Amen.
He spoke directly to the Jews. Amen. He understood them. So sometimes you may have one person that knows how to work the word so that you understand it from your perspective, and then somebody else can come along and they twist it just a little bit differently because they can speak to a different side of you. And then the word starting in Matthew 25 and 14 says, and again, the kingdom of heaven can be illustrated by the story of a man going on a long trip. He called together his servants and entrusted his money to them while he was gone. He gave 5 bags of silver to one, 2 bags of silver to another, and 1 bag of silver to the last, dividing in its portion based upon their ability. Then he left on his trip.
Well,
16 says, the servant who received the 5 bags of silver began to invest the money, and he earned 5 more. The servant with the 2 bags of silver also went to work and earned 2 more. But the servant who received 1 bag of silver dug a hole in the ground and hid the master's money. After a long time, their master returned from his trip and called them to give an account for how they had used his money. The servant to whom he had entrusted the 5 bags of silver came forward, and with 5 more he said unto the master, Master, you gave me 5 bags of silver to invest, and I have earned you 5 more.
all right now.
The master was full of praise. Well done, my good and faithful servant, he said. You see, you have been faithful in handling this small amount. So now I'm going to give you more responsibility. Let us all celebrate together. And it's nice how God will celebrate little triumphs that we have. And then it says, the servant who had received 2 bags of silver came forward and said, Master, you have given me 2 bags of silver to invest, and I have earned 2 more.
All right.
And the master looked at him and said, well done, my good and faithful servant. You have been faithful in handling this small amount of it. I'm going to do like I did the first, and I'm going to give you more responsibility.
Right. That's right.
Isn't it nice when God elevates you to handle it? Oh, but now then the servant with the 1 bag of silver came and said, Master, see, I know you were a harsh man. Harvesting crops that you didn't plant. Gathering crops that you didn't cultivate. You see, I was afraid I would lose your money, so I did the next best thing and I hid that money in the earth. And here you have it back. Here's your money back. The goal that it takes for somebody to give you something that they trust you with, and you decide upon yourself you're going to do it your way. And then insult them when they return to find out how well you've done with what they gave you in the beginning. I know how we do. I'm going to get to that in just a second. But the master looked at him and replied, you wicked and lazy servant. If you knew I harvested crops and didn't plant and gathered crops I didn't cultivate, why didn't you deposit that money in the bank? At least I could have gotten some kind of interest on it. Then he ordered him, take the money from the servant that had 1 bag and give it to the one that had the 10 bags of silver. To those who use well what they are given, even more will be given unto them. And they will have an abundance. When you do what God tells you to do, there is abundance for you. But from those who do nothing, even with the little that they were given, it shall be taken away. Now throw these useless servants into the darkness, where they will be weeping and gnashing of their teeth. And then if you look at the version of Luke, let's see, I like Luke, because Luke spoke to the Gentiles. He spoke to the common people. And it's basically the same story, but the difference is that it's a nobleman that they're talking about. And how this nobleman got word that he was getting ready to receive a great inheritance. And that he needed to go and take care of some business. So he called some servants, some slaves over, and he said, now listen, I got to go out of town for a minute, and I need you guys to take care of a few things for me.
All right.
So I'm paraphrasing just for time's sake.
All right.
When you get a chance, go back and read it.
Yeah.
But he said to them, while I'm gone, I'm going to need you to take care of some business. So I'm going to give you all some money to take care of for me. And when I return, I expect a report of how you've handled this money. And one thing that he said that in this, I can't even talk to that.
Go ahead on, baby.
This particular story, it basically is talking about Jesus telling the story. Now, in the first story, it was Matthew's version, and Jesus was in Jerusalem. He was a few days outside of getting to the city. And in that version, 3 servants are mentioned about talents, based upon their ability to handle those talents. And those weights and dimensions of a talent I'm going to get to in just a second. But in the Luke version, this is actually Jesus telling a parable outside of the city of Jerusalem. Amen. And he's getting ready to make his triumphant return into Jerusalem. And this version is talking about a nobleman. And in this version, it doesn't talk about a talent. It talks about a mina. And a mina is 1/16 of a talent. It may not have the same value of a talent, but it's still to go about doing your business with this money. I need you to handle things in my absence. See, when you have a leader that trusts you with doing his business, you can execute what he tells you to do without having anybody look over your shoulder or pat you on the back. Amen. And so these slaves were in charge, and